Good morning, Sarah. You were right. I am the Blackboard person that you talk to when you have questions about doing anything on Blackboard. I know that you said that you can't come to my office, but I'm going to bring my office to you. This is generally how I work with faculty because it's easier than trying to shoot screenshots and email them or try to talk you through the process when instead sometimes watching what I'm doing is all that you need to do. Alright, so I'm in my CISA class for this fall, and I've created an area down here that's non-visible to students, but it's just a normal content area. So this would be like your assignments area or your course tools area or whatever. Okay. And in this assignments area, I have these four black boxes, and every time I hover over them, they give me the drop-down. So I'm going to kind of explain what they are, and then that will help you when you try to remember how do I set up an assignment. Okay. So this build content is anything, I consider this anything that you want to use to teach. So this is what you are presenting to your students so that they can actually learn your subject matter. Okay. Assessments are things that you would be grading. This is an assessment would be something like you've got tests, surveys, assignments, self-and-peer assessments, safe assignments, and McGraw-Hill assignments. Those are the ones that are available right now. Pearson will be added to this list next semester. Then we have the tools, and these are more the interactions. So this is like in a classroom, if you were teaching online, this is how students can interact with each other. So this would be replacing that group discussion, that classroom discussion that we would have. These are all the tools that are available for students to have conversations online instead of in classroom. And then we've got our publisher content, and this is our McGraw-Hill and our Pearson stuff. And if you are using these, then your department chair will teach you how to. I don't use them for any of my classes, and so I have never been officially trained on how to use any of those tools. So, your question is, how can you create an assignment that allows students to submit a file to the site? Okay, so we would come into this assessments area and come down to assignment. And then this is where we would name that assignment. So this could be essay 2, argumentative essay. Spelled correctly. Alright. There you go, argumentative essay. And down here in this text box, this should be fairly familiar, but this is where you would write your directions, the areas that you want them to focus on. You can also attach a file, so if you have this already written up in a Word document, you can attach that. And then down in number 3 is where we assign the points values. I'm going to pretend that this is points. And if you use Blackboard rubrics, this is where you would add your rubric. I would select my rubric. I use them extensively. Here are all of the rubrics that I use, so let's pretend that this is my final project. Submit. Now my final project is only worth 55 points, so that was what Blackboard was asking me. Do you want to use what your rubric points are or what you said? And so if I'm using a rubric, then I have to go by what my rubric says. If I don't want to choose to use a rubric, I can just hit delete, and then I can change this back to points. Okay? Down in step 4 is where we control how and when students get to see this. So right now it is completely available. Students are allowed one single attempt to upload a file. You can have unlimited attempts, but I strongly suggest, I would advise you not to do that, and I'll explain why in a moment. Or you can choose to have like 2 attempts, so you can have a rough draft and a final draft. So that would be what I would do for 2 attempts. This limit availability means I can choose when I want this assignment to be open for my students to turn stuff in. This allows me to pre-build assignments so that I can do it all at the beginning of the semester, and then they will automatically turn on when I tell them to. So if I want this to turn on the week after Thanksgiving, I would just use that calendar feature and show you where it is, right there, and say starting on December 2nd, and I can choose the time as well, so I can say at 8 a.m., which is where everything opens in my class, and I want this to only be available for a week. If they aren't done by a week, then they are late. And so I have it going until Saturday at 11:59 p.m. I can track the number of views, which just tells me how many times my students actually look at this assignment. It doesn't provide me that much information, except if you have students that are habitually saying that, well, I've worked on it all week and it wouldn't work, and then you can see, oh yeah, you logged in on the 7th at 11:30 p.m. So you're right, you didn't get much time to do that. I can set a due date. It's gonna default to today's date. I'm gonna set that so that it is December 7th at 11:59 p.m. So now it matches these two. Anything that is submitted late will turn up as a red exclamation point in your grade center. So that kind of is a heads up for you. They turned it in late. And whatever your late work policy is, then what you would apply that to. If you have groups in your classroom, you can assign this specifically just to groups. I don't have any groups in mind because I have a face-to-face classroom. Or you can assign it to all students individually, which means every single student has to turn in a video. And that's basically all that is there. And then when I'm done, I would click submit. And here is my essay. Notice it says it is not available. It will be available after December 2nd. Students can't see this until it wakes up and pops open. That's why it's kind of grayed out over here. But this is the process now for turning something in. So you might need to know this to help your students. So let's assume that this is open. Because when I'm in edit mode and I'm the instructor, I can get into anything. But for your students, this would need to be open. And all they need to do is click on the title of that assignment, and this is exactly what they would see. They would need to browse their computer for a file, select it, and then open it, and here is their file right here. They can add comments. Here's my essay, or they cannot, it doesn't matter. And then when they're done, they have to click submit for it to turn into you. If they save it as a draft, it means they're not done working on it, and you won't ever see that in your grade center. So they have to click the submit button in order for it to work. And then they get this nice little message that this is what they've turned in. The assignment is complete. Here is the file that they have selected. And they're like, okay, there we go. They can have a new submission, obviously, because I had it set it for 2. Otherwise, it will just give this okay button, and then that's done. So I hope that helps you a little bit. When it comes time to grade these things, you go down into the grade center. I'm not sure if it's going to show up in needs grading since I turned it in as an instructor, and they sometimes don't go through. Nope. So I would have to go into the full grade center. It would show up for you in there. You can see all my grades I need to do this about. But it would show up in your needs grading and in your full grade center, that assignment. And then you can grade it and have all kinds of fun with it. So I hope that helps. Please feel free to get back in touch if you have any questions. Otherwise, you can hold on to this video and remind yourself how to set up that assignment in Blackboard.